All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Harry
Hey,
Potters. It's Podders. It's a pun because this is a Harry Potter podcast. My name's Harsha. I'm joined here by my good friend
well, my
John.
name's John
John,
Denemy, but my friends call me Vic, as he was probably just about to say. I just felt the need to say it. So he's gonna call me Vic. My friends
yeah,
call me Vic. You guys
I,
can call me Vic.
I know you as Vic. Well, I think I knew you as John early when I first met you, but then all of a sudden, one summer, we all started calling you Vic.
It hits the ear weird to hear
Yeah,
you call me John. Like certain people, it'd be weird to
yeah.
hear them call me Vic, but like you say John, it's just like who? Who is that man?
Anyway, we wanted to do a Harry Potter podcast. Let's just first start out by saying, like, me and you both are like massive Harry Potter fans, like huge Harry Potter fans.
I think this was the first thing, like, and I'm not exaggerating. I don't think I was about anything until like I found the Harry Potter books. I think this was the first thing I ever loved. The books, later the movies, but oh my god, the books. I've never been about anything like I was about those books, and still to this
Would
day.
you read them like in a day, or you try to space it out to kind of savor it? Because I would have this like existential crisis where I would want to read it as fast as I can to get the story, but I wouldn't want it to end. You know?
Well, I found, it's funny. The longer the books got, I was getting older, so my reading comprehension was better.
Yeah.
And about the fifth book, I don't know anybody who could say they finished in a day. Maybe somebody did, but like 6 and 7, I finished legit in a day. But I regretted it because I really didn't fully retain what I read. Like I was talking with you and other people who read it, and I was like, wait, what happened? Like at some point, I was like nodding out trying to like finish these chapters because I finished it in a day. So I think the Savior was the better move, but no, I'd go right in and get
Yeah.
it at midnight at
After
Barnes and Nobles.
After I read the series a few times, I realized how much I missed the first read because I was like a young idiot just
Sure.
trying to go through it really fast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so while we're talking about this, is we wanted to talk about some of the beefs we have with the book, some of the beefs we have with the movie, and the end of this podcast, we want to talk about what we would put into a like 10 episode Netflix special if they made it about Harry Potter.
And how I think maybe the idea has been talked about, but how it's really not in the works. I'm just shocked, honestly, because we talked about this at the time the movies came out. It made sense to make these a movie, but
Yeah.
now that books being episodes on Netflix and HBO, really like Game of Thrones blowing up, you have
Yeah, exactly. The
what do
entire
you call it?
the entire Game of Thrones phenomenon just kind of changed the way I looked at the series. It's like, man, instead of having like 7 hours per year, we have a total of what, 20 hours over the entire series. So I feel like we just
Mhm.
missed out on a lot of content that's in the book that could have been on the screen as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, these books, I was more about it than every movie. These chapters, as the books go on, have more twists and turns, more punch to them than like the episode of my favorite show. Like, honestly, the
Yeah.
script's right there in these books.
All right, so I want to get right into it. The way we're going to structure this is we're going to do book beefs, movie beefs, and then we're going to brainstorm our 10 episode Netflix special. And just because we're criticizing the books and the movies, I just want to reiterate we're like huge fans. So we're doing this all out of love. We're doing this out of
All
like
love.
humor and love. And I think for this one, we decided that we're just going to do the first book and like the first couple chapters. We decided on when Harry first catches the letter, right?
Mm-hmm. See that image right in my mind. Him reading the Mr. Harry J. Potter uh, closet under the bedroom.
Under
I
the
know it
cupboard,
changes
yeah, yeah.
under the
I think,
cupboard. And then he
yeah,
flips it, and you just see that Hogwarts seal, the wax seal. I just have always seen that in my mind as the end of an episode to a
yeah, yeah.
pilot
So
of a
up to the
series.
beginning to that is kind of what we're going to focus on today. Of course, we'll talk about other stuff that happens in the series. It's inevitable. But yeah, let's get started with some book beefs.
Let's run it.
The first one that happens right away. when we were kind of brainstorming this one kind of like came out of nowhere, but it's like a huge beef that I think is why is McGonagall just chilling as a cat on Privet Drive? Like, what is she doing there?
Until we talked about it, I never really noticed how none of that really makes sense. Because, like you said, it's Halloween when Voldemort fell. Harry's the boy who lived.
Yeah.
School's in term. They're at
Yeah, that's the one thing we thought of, was like, wait, she's supposed to be teaching Transfiguration tomorrow.
It off like it was the summer. They're not really all communicating great. Like maybe she heard. No, you're working with Dumbledore, so she's the deputy headmistress.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be the first person to know homeboy's leaving the office. And the way their conversation goes is, oh, I suppose you talked with Hagrid. He said something to that nature, like, oh, you must have talked to Hagrid to know I was going to be here. And she's like, yeah, and I waited all day. So that tells us no time was set. Dumbledore didn't even officially tell her he was leaving. So I don't know. Maybe the only plausible thing is she's eating her porridge in the Great Hall that morning, and she sees old Hagrid stumbling in from being the gamekeeper and going, oh, hey there, Professor. And she goes, have you seen Professor Dumbledore, Hagrid? Oh, well, I don't know what time, but we might be at this house, a Muggle house in Surrey.
Why don't you just hang out there all day and see if I show up?
No time. Maybe we pop in at night. Maybe I have a motorcycle. I don't know. Like a lot. Maybe the Potters got killed. We don't know anything. Like, not
another thing I was thinking about is, why would Hagrid even be talking to McGonagall? I don't think that they're friends necessarily, are they?
I don't believe so.
Because one of the first things McGonagall says to Dumbledore is like, "Oh, you're asking Hagrid to bring Harry? Do you really trust him with that kind of job?" Like, the first thing she says in the book about Hagrid is not a very like positive praise of Hagrid at all.
Clearly, you trusted him enough, lady, to hang out in front of that house as a cat all day. So, yeah, what's the word? There's wavering faith in Hagrid in that whole conversation. Yeah. I don't think there is a fully explainable reason for it, but it's what happened. But
and another thing you say is that she's deputy headmistress. So at that point in Privet Drive, the two most important people of Hogwarts have just abandoned the school.
Who's running the joint? I don't think Snape was a professor. Like, who's running the joint? Nobody told anybody anything. Nothing was like, yeah, because we had an administrative meeting this morning. I knew to be here at this time, and you were getting Harry Potter from the wreckage of his home. No, it was like, oh, word on the street was Hagrid said you might be at this house. I've been casing the joint all day. Why are you taking what are you taking here? Like, she didn't know nothing. She's like, why are we at this house, is what she says. Mysterious.
It is. It's like, is Dumbledore going, hey, by the way, I need you at Privet Drive? And she's like, okay, what are you going to be doing there? And Dumbledore's like, I'm going to be giving a letter to this Muggle family with a baby, and I need you to be there for it.
I need to have a great dialogue with you to tie this story together to open it up.
Yeah, basically it's like, we need to introduce these two teachers at the beginning of the book.
But I mean, we could write it off to maybe they were just, Voldemort fell, people were excited, and they were just having a bad day. They were slipping on communication that morning.
It makes me think of all the times like Harry like stormed up to, or was like had a problem when it was trying to either find Dumbledore or like a member of the Order of the Phoenix or another teacher, and like he goes to the office like, where's Dumbledore? Or he's out. Okay, fine. Then where's Professor McGonagall? Oh, she's out too.
Like, Flitwick? Like, I don't
like, does he like runs down the list like,
happen?
Is Hagrid here? It's like, actually he's out too.
Madame Pomfrey.
Yeah, I'm surprised Madame Pomfrey wasn't there, like, to take care of the baby or something. Maybe he was hurt.
Yeah, she'd have some skills in that situation. All McGonagall could do is turn the baby basket into like a groundhog. Like I don't know what she's gonna do there.
Okay.
Yeah, so our other beef is I saw this one rereading the I believe second chapter. They go to the zoo, the Dursleys and Harry. Harry's older now. It's his, first time he gets to do something on Dudley's
Yeah.
birthday.
I like this beef from you. Go into detail about why you think this is such a beef for you.
Well, then they go to the ice cream lady and they get Dudley and his friend Piers ice cream. And then it says, oh, and they quickly got Harry cheap lemon pop because the lady asked him before they could scoot him away. My beef is like Vernon and Petunia Dursley are going to get like peer pressure guilted and by this ice cream truck girl who's probably not even 20 years old. They were going to leave the kid in the car in the parking lot. And I don't think they would have cared if the prime minister saw it. They would have had him burning up on a summer day in the parking lot. Yeah, that's my beef. I was like, they got guilted by the lady to get him an ice cream. What's your take on that?
It seems very out of character for Vernon, who wouldn't care, right? Why would he care if someone thinks that he's mistreating Harry? He like goes out of his way to show everyone that he's neglecting this child.
Like they're probably known as those people that keep that kid like locked up in the broom cupboard. Like I think they're just like, yeah, he deserves. They say Dursley stuff about it. I don't think they're ashamed of it. Anything when they went through why they wouldn't have Harry somewhere, like, oh, the babysitter, leave him at home. None of it was about like Harry, like, oh, we can't leave the kid at home because he's young and he might get burned. It's like, I don't want him playing with Dudley's toys. I don't want him getting my car dirty. None of it was like, oh, what would people think?
Right. It was basically to deprive him of enjoying life. It was everything they used to do. Yeah.
But this woman just really gave it to him, I guess. Really made them feel some type of way. I was thinking I think sprinkled through the story, because as it's shown later, Petunia has a lot more knowledge of the magical world than we knew at the start of the books. By the end of the books, you find out. I think she's a sick woman, but somewhere in there, like she thinks she is doing right by her nephew. Like I don't know, maybe I'm totally reaching here, but I think maybe she's like, oh, we might as well get him a cheap lemon pop, and she thinks that's her way of making it fair. I've always wondered.
No, I definitely think that both of them, but especially Petunia, who's actually blood relatives with Harry, they lie to themselves, right? They tell themselves that the fact that we've taken this boy in is enough, right? That we're exceeding expectations. Like we had no reason to take this boy in other than I guess we're good people, who will share our home with this orphan.
That is true. They really see themselves as like these wonderful people in their sick way. I really think they're doing like miracle work. Like, I think they've so gassed up, like they believe their lie that like Lily and James were just some like dirty drunks or something, like some riffraff. Like,
well, I think
they kind of believe the lie.
I think what we're saying really comes forward in book 7 when he's leaving Privet Drive for the last time. And do you remember that line where like, and Petunia turned around to say something to Harry, but she doesn't say anything?
I swear I read a J.K. Rowling interview or watched it. Like she had a whole dialogue that she just didn't feel right to put it in, but like Petunia was going to say something along the lines. I swear I'm not making this up. I'm not getting the quote exactly, but it's like, I know what evil you're facing and we're with you. Like she was going to give him some sort of words of encouragement or something.
I think that was the right choice to not put that in the book though, because that is like the whole point is Petunia, and Petunia especially never like accepts the fact that she wronged this child. And I think an apology at the end there would have like totally undermined the entire character arc of her.
Yeah, and it would have been like, oh, thanks, lady. Like, you just like made my life hell for like X amount of years. Like, oh, okay, you know what I'm facing. You really showed it up until this point. Like,
Like where was the love for the last 7 years?
yeah, it would have been nice to like have a Christmas present. Like, maybe I'd face this a little bit better. Like, but
They would give him Christmas presents. They gave him a Kleenex once, I think.
yeah, I think like a used Kleenex, like chewed up gum. Like that's what we're gonna hit when we get to the next phase of the episode. Is this is straight up child abuse? There's really
Yeah.
nothing campy about it. Like this is some dark stuff. Like just making a kid feel like dirt out of the womb and whatnot. Like
Yeah, not
some
to
psychological trauma. It just adds to the fact Harry really is uh quite a quite a miraculous kid. Quite, it's insane that he's not messed up after that.
yeah, we're kind of stepping on the movie beefs here, but I totally agree. Like the first half of the first movie is so like childish and like it's very like campy, like you said, and it's like this 11-year-old kid has just been being abused for his entire life.
Yeah, and it's true. And what we're talking about is like they didn't know, we didn't know. I don't even know. I'm sure when they were filming that movie, I don't even think book 4 had dropped yet.
Yeah,
And it completely changes the tone of like, oh, this is going to be borderline just like adult fiction. Like, it really leaves the kid realm. They didn't know that making those movies, but it's true. You still get a little bit of the tone. Like we said, I mean, chewed up napkin, a penny for Christmas.
yeah, it was like I think they gave him like 2 coins one year or something.
That's so messed up.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, we'll get to this more when we talk about our Netflix series. Like I think we both talked about how we wanted it to be dark right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the get go.
Mm-hmm. We have the knowledge now.
Yeah, now that like if people are watching it now, like everyone knows the story, so there's no need to like ramp up the darkness. We can just get to it right away.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Here was our last book beef. This one is a good one because we were talking about ending the episode when Harry gets his letter, his letter to Hogwarts. Like the beef is why can't Dumbledore just come to the house and talk to him? Because I was thinking about this even further. We see him do this with Tom Riddle like 50 years ago. When he himself goes to the orphanage, talks to the lady at the orphanage, and then literally talks to Tom Riddle face to face, tells him that he's a wizard, and invites him to Hogwarts, and then tells him he's going to have to go to Diagon Alley to buy his school supplies, and even offers to go with Tom to Diagon Alley. And then fast forward when Harry's 11, like, here's a magic piece of paper that says.
And not only did he do that for Tom Riddle, but he really didn't know what he was walking into with Tom Riddle. He just heard stories of some stuff going on at this orphanage, figured the kid's a wizard. He said he had no idea. He thought he was meeting the darkest wizard of all time. With Harry, you made this mess. Like you made this situation. You know these people aren't going to tell the kid a thing. And being that it's Dumbledore, I'm sure he knows every word that may have ever been said in that house. You know what I mean? Like he's keeping tabs on this house. So, yeah, what's with all the drama, bro? Like the kid almost never even got there. Like, just come and sort this out. Like he could have got his books a couple weeks earlier. He'd be reading up. It was all in the plan for some. I feel like for some reason Dumbledore really wanted Hagrid to be the first magical person Harry met. As to why, I mean, he's just like, he's a buffoon, but he's like a good dude.
He's an oaf, not a buffoon.
An oaf, yeah, that's the term. A great big oaf. But he is like everything that the purebloods, the pureblood extremists, I should say, Voldemort. It's what they're not about. He's a half breed.
Yeah,
Has no money. He's not rich. He's just, you could go down the list. He's everything Voldemort isn't. I think there's something very intentional to that, but still, the whole drama where they drive across London, letters are popping out of eggshells. Yeah, like what's with the show, bro? Like this kid's got to go to school.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That I never thought about that. Like he would want like a half breed like Hagrid to be the first exposure that Harry has to the wizarding world, to like right off the bat show him that not everyone is a pureblood prick like the Malfoys, and not everyone is a power hungry psychopath monster like Voldemort.
Think of our exposure. Like JK did that intentional. Our exposure to that world is like, oh, they're all kind of like in rags and like these gypsy, happy-go-lucky people.
Yeah,
when really, like any of like, let's say the Malfoy type families would want that exposure 100% different. They'd be these regal, mysterious, cold people, like totally different. And if you write the book and what if she wanted it to be a book series where the kid becomes the most evil, like let's say it was a book of Voldemort, you'd probably introduce a wizard in that manner.
yeah. I think when we have beefs about Dumbledore, like we always inevitably will come back to, well, maybe it was part of his big plan, right?
It's
like
so true. Like
everything.
the McGonagall and Hagrid thing is like straight up like a plot hole. I hate to say it. I love these books, but like straight up plot hole. With Dumbledore, there's like always like, this is such a detailed, awesome character. There's like everything had intent. Like everything with that character has intention to him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the more times I read it, the less I feel like this is a book about a boy wizard, and the more I feel it is a book about a grand, or like this master wizard who has this like super complex plan to defeat this evil guy. Like at some point, like Harry becomes like just like a tool basically that Dumbledore is using, right?
Yeah. No, I like that. It's true. Because Harry's the best perspective because he's getting plugged into the world halfway through this plan, even though he's a key component, the key component. No, that's really true. When you reread it, it's all about Dumbledore's master plan against evil.
So do you think that Dumbledore knew the Dursleys would not let him open an envelope, so he sent those envelopes anyway, and then he knew the end game was that Hagrid was going to be the guy in the end?
Yeah, I mean, he sent him. He intentionally didn't send himself.
But you think Dumbledore would know that the Dursleys would hide mail from Harry,
Absolutely.
right?
Like, there's no way Dumbledore thought, oh, maybe, because you know how like Hagrid thought, wow, they really weren't treating you too good. Like he don't know, he's Hagrid,
and Hagrid is like stunned that Harry doesn't even know who his parents are. Like, do the car crash.
A car crash, kill Lily and James Potter.
Yeah.
It's an outrage. It's a scandal. So, like maybe all that, he knew Hagrid was gonna be all Dursley and fucking going crazy. Pardon my language, but yeah, I still think it was drawn out a little. I think he could have just sent Hagrid to their house or something. Like the whole letter thing. Like, come on, baby, it's been a long time now. They're getting a lot of letters. You got to get the message. Like, you send them 1 million letters. Like, Dumbledore had to write off on that. They're like, sir, the Potter boy didn't get a letter. Send him 1 million through the chimney if you must. Like, he had to have told them to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. We can talk about Dumbledore all day long and his fucking plan. It's so crazy. But let's move on to movie beefs. So I think most Harry Potter fans would agree that the books are better than the movies, right? That's not really a hot take.
True. Yeah. Any real fan, like anybody loving this stuff, I'm all about the Wizarding World. So if people are watching it, I'm not knocking them. But if you're a person who just watched these movies, how do you enjoy it? Like, it just shocks me.
It's
like,
not
how
even
would you
the right
not
story.
Pick up the book? Yeah, you're not even really
the right story.
all the good stuff. The only thing the movie's good for is you could get a visual aid to the book, in my opinion.
Yeah,
That amazes me. I know so many people who are like, I love those movies. And I'm like, what about the books? Oh, there's a book? I'm like come on.
Yeah, the best part about the movies is that they just like reawaken the book or reawaken the books. Not necessarily that they're good movies. Some parts of the movies are really good. But yeah, I was actually thinking about like the movies are good, and like I would remember when I knew like another movie was coming out, I would like try to like watch the trailer because like YouTube wasn't back there, so you couldn't watch the trailer on the internet. And do you remember the first time, like for like the third or fourth or fifth movie, where you start to hear Hedwig's theme and you see the WB logo, and you're like, "Oh shit, another Harry Potter movie's coming out."
Yeah. Yeah, right around like after the third one, they started like having like that whole look ready. Absolutely.
I remember for like all the trailers for like 2 seconds, you're like, I don't know what this is, and then you just suddenly hear, "Ding, ding, ding, ding," and you're like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah, I remember for the fifth one, like yeah, I had that moment, like I didn't know it was coming, and you hear that music. Oh, get the seatbelts on! It's a Potter trailer.
All right, so here is the first movie beef we have. I think we both found this very strange, and I don't know if this is just a movie beef or it's that the actors are just bad because they're like 10 or 9 in this movie. But our first movie beef is Harry understands right away that he can speak to snakes.
Yeah, like he didn't question anything about it. He just sees that snake. The snake's and in the book, I mean, the thing's straight up like kind of just talking to him. Nothing was like, I'm talking to a snake. Am I crazy? No inner dialogue. Just like, oh, yeah, I get that a lot too. I forget what does he say? You remember it? What does he say?
I don't remember this, but the snake says something, and Harry looks at him with his eye, and he immediately goes,
"Yeah, and he's
you
like,
can
oh,
understand me." And I'm like, why would that be your first? Why would that be your first thought that a snake can understand you?
Were you talking to me? Well, okay then. Oh, you're from Brazil? Oh, yeah, it must be nice there. Oh, you're born in captivity. Oh, okay. Yeah, he just boom, not like looking around like, oh, I'm sick. Like you said, could be something about the actor, could be the kid is 10, you know. I kind of forget what it's
actor, like you just can't portray like shock, or you just don't know how to portray shock or like total like wonder at
because
that age.
I not on obviously that level because I wasn't in films, but I was like a community theater child actor. Any reaction you do as a kid, the director showed you to do it. When you like the director went, and you're gonna be like, Harry, he has to do it. Like they don't know, like you said, they don't even know how to convey these things. So they're just doing what a person acted out.
It looks so fake. It looks so fake when the snake talks, and then Harry's eyes just go like bug-eyed. It's like, whoa. It's like, no, you wouldn't have gotten that right away.
Nah. But even in the book, he's just like rolling with it. Like he's not like all weirded out that he's talking to a snake. And I'm not like trying to like have a reason because I think a lot of these, like you said, well, obviously with the movie, I mean, there's just straight up a movie beef. Like they didn't hit it on the dot.
Yeah.
However, and there's no way they were thinking of this in this movie because they're just kind of just making a movie. There could be something to the fact that he does have that bit of Voldemort in him, and he's just naturally comfortable talking to a snake.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, because at that point in the story, he doesn't know he's a wizard yet. Because he's at the zoo before the letters start coming. But yeah, that would be a very interesting take to put in. I think in general, the movies don't touch on the horror.
I mean, the movies, it wasn't. Like, I'm not trying to give them, there was not some genius on set thinking, like, they just weren't thinking of that. It was just a real weak reaction to talking to a snake.
Yeah. I kind of feel bad, like, shitting on 10-year-old Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, and Daniel Radcliffe's the man. He's a great actor. He's done Broadway. I get what it's like being a 10-year-old. You're acting out what a person showed you to do it a minute ago.
Yeah, that beef of like just weird reaction that reminds me a lot of in the shack when Dursley says, "I'm not gonna have some old crackpot fool teaching magic tricks," and Hagrid, like, without even reacting, just goes, "Don't ever insult."
Yeah, he's a
like
grown
that
ass
reaction.
man. He's got no excuse. Like, they don't ever insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me. Like, it's a little too hype.
It happens too fast. Like in both of those things, like I didn't feel like the character understood what was happening, but they're just acting what they were supposed to be acting.
I want to have some crackpot fool teach him magic tricks. Don't ever. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
it
even think the guy
happens too fast.
finished it.
It sounded exactly like the actor who was playing Hagrid knew what the actor Dursley was going to say and had a line ready right when he was about to say it.
Yeah, no, that's what that was. I ain't got a devil's advocate on that one.
Okay, this is the next movie Biff is yours, and I really like this.
Is it the shack? I don't have them in
They
front
go to
of me.
the shack, 0 to 100. They just let's go to a shack.
Let's go to a shack. So in the book, there's a whole build up to how you get to that shack. He gets so desperate. He talks to some creepy toothless dude with a boat and a shack. He's like, whatever, they'll never find us here. In the movie, it's just like, we're going away, far away, where they can never find us. And boom, onto the creepy shack in the Atlantic Ocean. Like, he just, like anybody who didn't read the book, like, they didn't question that. This man just owned an abandoned shack or knew right to go to it. Leads one, like, he looks like a pedophile or something, quite honestly. Like, he just had a shack ready, 0 to 100.
Is that like people have like cottages up north in England? You've just got like a shack on a lake
on a rock. And that looked like the Atlantic Ocean, bro. I don't even know if that was. I really don't know how you get to that in real life. Like, how did they not use some magic? They took a creaky little rowboat out to that. Like, that thing was intense looking.
Yeah, that actually is like very related to our last beef, which this is my favorite movie beef, is the the no post. Can you do the no post on Sunday impression?
He says, Sunday, a fine day. In fact, in my opinion, best day of the week. Why is that? No post on Sundays. Right you are, Harry. No post on Sundays. No letters today. Not one bloody letter. But is that what we're getting at? That he really thought the post was
and I never thought about it, but the idea that there could be mail on Sunday because Dursley knows that wizards exist is so ridiculous.
Yeah, Dursley knows wizards exist. He knows, okay, I don't know if they like fully got their minds wrapped around the owl thing. I don't even know if they're putting that together, but you've gotten it in your milk. You've gotten it in your eggs. You've gotten them through your chimney. They know that you've switched the kid's room. The address on the things are changing. They're coming in through the wall. The post ain't stopping it, and he's got to know this.
And even before that, they know when they give haircuts to Harry, his hair grows back in like a day. They know that somehow Harry's like appeared on the roofs of schools, like you know that this kid's you know these two, the parents of this kid are wizards. You know this because your wife was sisters with them. You know all these weird things are happening. You're scared to death of these letters because you know that he's a wizard.
Yeah, and like that's just straight up the movie, like, because I'm not sure the book put that in. The movie was just like, no post on Sunday. Who cooked that up? Like, oh, this will be great. He'll be relishing in the fact that it's Sunday. Like, let's put this in.
I think it might be in the book, but it's not like, you know, it's like such a huge scene in the movie. It's like, oh, there's no mail on Sunday, so we're clear now.
Yeah. Like, oh, we'll have a break on Sunday. Like, nothing that happened led up to thinking that's true. And there's no reason that man thought it was.
It's like, there's no post on Sunday. And then Petunia's like, Vernon, dear, there's magic.
There's no such thing as magic.
All right. So now to the final portion of the pod. This is what we really want to talk about, is the show ideas. If we were to make this a show, so based on what we talked about, the first episode would end with Harry finding the letter, right?
Yeah, flip the letter. I like that. And he just sees
So
that logo, end shot.
so if you're in charge of outlining this first episode, how do you start it? And what's like not in the books in the first two chapters that you would show in a like a TV reimagining of this?
I'm going to be honest. Now, I know you kind of told me yours when we were running through the show, and you're a believer on, I don't want to tell, because you kind of have a direction for it. I'm just saying, I probably would start it just because it's going to be the exact moment the book starts, doesn't mean you don't add in things that like we know now. Like, you don't have to. They can be seeing it with the innocent new eyes. It doesn't mean we have to be, and there could be things in it for the viewer. But I do love starting it on 1981. I think the first thing for me with this show that would be critical is you have to go with the actual timeline. You can't just make it in 2020 or 2010. It has to be 1981, which is when Harry got the scar.
Mm-hmm.
1991, he goes to Hogwarts. I think 1998, 1997, Voldemort falls. So not only is it going to be an awesome Harry Potter show, it's going to be a period show, which that's hot as could be right now. Having a show, a little bit of it in the 80s, most of it in the 90s. You do throwback shots and the visions when you're in the pen. Is it pronounced pensive or pensive?
Pensive, I believe.
Pensive, I think. Yeah, I've never really said it out loud.
So you're starting the show with Voldemort
Just like
falling, or the actual murder of
there could
Harry?
be some sort of opening, I suppose, where maybe it's actually the murder. What I like about the books, and I know we all know the story, but I do like how, like in the third book, now Harry's hearing screaming. He's hearing what they're saying. I like how that night develops more and more, where then by the seventh book, you see the entire night through Voldemort's eyes. And like Harry, you know how they like connect in Godric Hollow? I like the payoff of that. Even though we know what happened, I personally like the payoff of that. That's not to say we don't see anything. Like, I think it would be cool to even see Sirius giving Hagrid the motorcycle.
Yeah.
But me personally, I see it just open with Vernon Dursley starting his day, an unmagical life that's having all this magic around. Dudley's being a bad kid, and he's the word for word what that chapter is saying. I don't have it in front of me, but it would be that, because I love that moment where he turns, sees a cat with a map, and I mean, I see that cat just being as obviously with the map as possible, and then the cat's just like, he does a double take, and it's just the cat stiff and goes meow, but like stern, because it's Professor McGonagall. Then from there, I see everything being pretty straightforward. I think having the friend, like those little details they take out of the movie, having the friend at the zoo is important, because Piers is the one who's like, Harry was talking to the snake, weren't you, Harry? I mean, he ruined that kid's life. That dude just straight up named names, bro. He ruined Harry. I'm pretty sure it said in the book Harry was like locked up without, like, he had to sneak out for any food for like 2 months. So he could think how he didn't like attack Piers Polkiss is a testament to Harry being a true hero. If he didn't think he was a Slytherin before, he should reflect on his life, and he'll see,
I think in the TV series you could show a lot of the stuff in the books that are like casually mentioned, but like you could give them 1 minute or 2 minute scenes, like Harry's hair growing back really fast. I think that's a really funny scene, and that kind of shows that he's a wizard, and like how frustrated the Dursleys get about it.
And something I grapple with, because I like that whole. There's a part in the second chapter where it goes through where he jumped at the school onto the building to avoid the bullies, the hair growing back, the sweater. It was an ugly sweater, and it kept shrinking the more they tried to pull it over his head.
Sweater, I forgot about the sweater,
Like, how like Arrested Development has a narrator and the cutscenes, like that's actually my favorite part of that show. Like, I don't think if that show didn't have that, I don't know if I'd like it as much. So I almost see I want this show to be dark, but I almost, if it's done right, could see it having a narrator and like going to cut scenes. Like I'm jumping ahead, but you even see
Yeah,
like,
I don't know about narrator, but I do like cutscenes because
yeah,
so
I
much
love the
stuff
cut
happens in the
scenes.
past that affects the present. We would need like for me, you want to start off with just Dursley having a regular day. That's like the first scene of episode 1.
Mm-hmm. No,
For
yeah, the
me,
first scene, yeah.
I want to show Peter Pettigrew betraying Lily and James Potter. I think that is like that doesn't come until book 3, but
Uh-huh.
that's like the first moment in the series to me where it gets really dark, where it's like, oh, there's corruption,
Betrayal.
there's like I mean the whole series is about friendship, right? So you need like something that like talks about friendship, and that's like such a betrayal or a deviation from friendship. I think that
Mhm.
would be a really cool way to start off the first episode because boom, Pettigrew betrays Lily and James. Quick scene of them dying, and then boom, Harry's 11 years old, having to make bacon for Dudley.
Condemned for 10 years to make bacon for Dudley and
Yeah,
wear hand-me-downs. I see the appeal because we have the info. Why not make this an adult dark tone thing from the start? And I'm not saying there's ways not to, but I know everybody's read this. But at the same time, if hypothetically somehow us making this little podcast, let's say our wildest dreams of what happened is we rattled the cage enough and made the case enough to get a Netflix or an HBO show made. That show's not getting made till like 2030, maybe,
yeah,
maybe a little less than that.
yeah,
There's going to be people that have no knowledge of Harry Potter, but like not detailed knowledge, like never read the books, possibly. And just for their benefit, if you show Pettigrew sell out the Potters, it completely ruins the mystery of the third. The third season would have
yeah.
a
That's
lot
true.
less bite to it.
I'm yeah. It's hard for me to watch or it's hard for me to think about a television series and not having read the books. But if it
Mhm.
does happen in 10 years, there probably will be a generation of people who will just watch the show and not have read the books.
That's all I'm thinking of with it.
That's interesting
However,
to think
there
about.
could be a way where like you don't name names and us
Yeah,
who have the knowledge
yeah,
see it, and then those people be like, "Oh, it's that guy." You know what I'm saying? So there's a way. I don't hate the idea because I think it like you said, Harry's the vessel. I don't think it's totally necessary to have this like completely fall him. We could have meetings with Dumbledore and Snape in the first season, possibly. I hear you on that. There's definitely a temptation to do that.
yeah. Because my idea is like when you get to books 4, 5, 6, and 7, like the stuff that is actually in the books, there's so much content that you would need to put on
Mm,
screen because it's so like all that stuff is super super
I,
important.
I hear you. Like the first two, definitely the first season, maybe even the second and third would have a lot less sauce than fourth. Like
Yeah,
fourth
that's
or
why.
seven are just action
Yeah,
packed.
I'm thinking you have a lot more opportunities to put in stuff that are not in the books in like at least the first 2 years because it's not as critical and consequential. Harry's still kind of growing up, figuring out the wizarding world, and I think there would be room to put in there would be room to show Harry and Snape meeting or Peter
Mm.
Pettigrew betraying the Potters or all that kind of stuff because I feel like the last four series,
Maybe
last
even
four,
just like a prologue showing the war where we see some dark stuff like many friends fell and we see like the long bottoms getting tortured.
yeah,
We just see like that there was like a true because you don't know when you're a kid and you're reading that first book and Hagrid's being all like they gave their lives. You think like, wow, this is like a hokey dramatic cornball when really like this man's friends were all murdered down the
yeah.
list.
Do you remember the scene in book 4 when the Dark Mark goes up in the Quidditch World Cup?
Yeah, they're
And
just like it's like
Mr. Weasley's like, you have no idea what that means because you weren't there back in the day. You
yeah,
don't
like Mr.
understand.
Weasley, you weren't there. You have no idea the fear this brought to all of us tonight. It felt like the old times again.
Yeah, I would definitely want to see a little bit of, because they mention in the books the first Wizarding War. Like I want to see some stuff from the first Wizarding War.
For sure, for no doubt. So we have our write up for the show. We kind of gave you an idea. What I would think, just to make it so we're clear, we kind of have disagreeing. So I think we'll kind of like go back and forth on this a little bit through the show. I kind of have a different like vision with the narrator. So I mean, that's for like fans. Like I hope we get people watching this. I want to paint what we're trying to get across so you guys could decide. I kind of have an idea for a show that's narrated. Maybe, honestly, my idea, you have like Daniel Radcliffe as the narrator. So you have like Harry as he's grown. I just thought that'd be like a cool cameo.
It's like Chris
Bob
Rock
Saget
doing
and
Everybody
How I
Loves
Met Your
Chris.
Mother. What'd you say?
It's like Chris Rock narrating that show Everybody Loves Chris on UPN.
Yeah, no, exactly. It'll be like Everybody Loves Chris. So maybe Daniel Radcliffe narrating, because I think the narration is like the good stuff in the books. I love it. I think it's the real humor. It would give an opportunity to get Harry's thoughts out.
Yeah,
and
that is really important because especially towards the end, like the biggest points in the book are in Harry's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not actually like anything that actually happens like action wise in the book. It's Harry's realization of who he is, what he's supposed to do, what Dumbledore meant for him to do, and all that stuff. So yeah, we would have to think about how to communicate all that stuff, especially Harry's thoughts out onto the screen, and the thoughts of other characters like Dumbledore.
I watched the thing with J.K. Rowling, and I think it's Steve Kloves. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but the man that wrote the screenplays for the movies, and they said that was like the toughest thing making those movies was they knew they couldn't put Harry's thoughts out. So if there's a way to do it in this show, the character's almost boring without his thoughts. He really the Hermione and Ron had more to them in the movies, one would almost say, than Harry.
Yeah. Now, since you brought up Arrested Development, I'm just hearing Ron Howard like narrate Harry's life.
He'll be like,
"This is Hogwarts.
This is Hogwarts. At Privet Drive, Harry was a 10-year-old boy." Yeah,
that would work though.
I
feel like that would be super like British, and that would kind of work with the setting of the series.
Absolutely, and I think even when it's like really dark, something I love about these books is like it can get so dark, but they're still funny. Like what brings me back to these books is that it's like funny. They deal with heavy stuff, and like honestly, it probably helped me comprehend heavier aspects of my life. Like honestly, these books deal with death and just not having life at your terms and really put it in a cool way. And it's like the humor and the love is what brings it back. So that would almost kind of like ground it, like really dark shit. And you have this narrator that always goes through. I don't know. Maybe I'm like putting.
I don't know either. Well, the good thing for us is this is just our first podcast, so we'll have so many opportunities to talk about this more. But yeah, I think
absolutely
we're done with the book beefs, movie beefs, and the show ideas. That was a lot of fun. I think we had I could talk about Harry Potter all day, man.
Seriously, I could go another few hours right now. We're ripping and running now.
So we got to move on to the next chat. So our next episode, we'll be dealing with chapters 3 and 4. Did we decide when we were going to end the next?
We're going to end, and I don't know if we made it clear, but what we started with was the start of the book. May it be kind of some new thing we start up, or just the official start of the book to him getting the letter, which I believe is the end of No, I think that's the end of chapter 2.
the letters to no one is the end of that chapter, because in the next chapter's Keeper of the Keys, right? Or something like that, when Hagrid shows up.
Keeper of the Keys. Letters to No One ends with the knock on the hut.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're right.
So maybe we I don't know. I mean, if you're doing like a 1 hour, 2 hour season open, if it's a 2 hour season opener, you're getting to Hagrid. You might even get to Diagon
for
Alley.
sure.
If it's 1 hour, I think maybe you could get away with the letter because there's a lot of stuff going on in the beginning, especially if we're doing like a prologue type of deal.
Yeah.
But,
so
yeah,
I guess
so the Keeper of the Keys, no doubt, is coming next week.
so. Our next pod, we're gonna have
Diagon
Keeper of the
Alley.
Keys. We're gonna talk about Hagrid, of course, and I guess probably we were gonna do Diagon Alley too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
got to get into Ollivander.
Gotta get into Ollivander.
Oh, we meet
some-
Malfoy in Diagon Alley, right?
We do meet Malfoy. He gets much more introduced to. I don't know. Ollivander. We'll get to it. Kind of does it in an appropriate manner.
Yeah.
His little encounter with Malfoy. Hagrid acts all better than everybody at the pub, but steps out for a few drinks on work duty pretty early into his shift. So we'll get into that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So much stuff to look forward
I
to.
want to talk about next episode's gonna be good. I have some stuff.
So much stuff to talk about. All right, guys. That's our first pod, the Harry Potters. Thank you guys for listening, Vic. It was awesome talking to you.
A pleasure, Harshie.
And we'll see you guys next time next week. I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right.
Figure it
Bye.
out.